where does all that knowledge come from? As far as like the you seem to know a lot about like the business side of it and like the algorithms and how things operate and receive and like push things. Where does all
Trial and
that
error. Just like
trial and
trial and
error?
error, and then like also like I think that's just like the way my brain works, and like that's like the part of it that I'm very interested in. Um, I've always had a super entrepreneurial mindset. Like even when I was, I don't know, it's funny to even think about some of this stuff, but like when I was 18, um, I've also always done a lot of construction. Um, and because like my dad owned a couple different construction businesses, and so I just kind of grew up around it, and he taught me a lot. But then I worked for a few different other like contractors and stuff, and then I just very early on realized um that you're obviously not going to make as much money if you're the employee, right? And I was just like dumb enough to think that I could just go do shit by myself, even at like a super young age. Like when I was 18, I literally got my roofing contractor's license, and the summer the summer after my first year of college, my brother and I we went and did like, I don't know, 10 roofs or something like that that summer. Um that's like really hard work, and I don't I don't wish that upon my worst enemies, but like the idea of being like super entrepreneurial was always like just there for me, cuz I was like I always knew that outworked all of my like counterpart coworkers, and so that always would like piss me off basically. And so I'm like, nah, fuck that, I'll just go get the bag myself. I'll figure out the way to make it, make the business portion of it work. And so like that's just always been in my brain. And so even like with the conversations that I have now with like whenever I meet people within the music business, it just seems like that's always where my conversations go. Like I always want to know the back end stuff. Like I want to know how they got to the point with the stuff that everybody doesn't see. You know what I mean? Because that's like a lot of times that's how it actually works. It's like there's a lot of it's like how the sausage is made. That's how I want to know them nitty gritty details. Because then it's like I can take and apply that to my own career and not have to use a label, not have to use a manager, not have to use um other resources. I think like there are certain portions of that that like that's gotten me into trouble because I'm super DIY. Just as far as like if you do everything yourself, it's harder to scale, and that's kind of just like more a general business thing. But at the same time, it's like I've always said I have started to get delegate more things now, and I'm like I feel like you need to know the process of what you're delegating before you delegate, so you're not getting scammed or just like taken advantage of, I guess.
Yeah. Not a completely on the same line, but as you were talking about previous work history,
Yeah.
I feel like you and Jay Roddy need to make a song together.
I've
Because
talked to him a bunch.
he's got so many like videos of him working construction
Yeah.
for like his music content,
Yeah, I
it's
know.
just like
I've talked to him about it a bunch. I respect that guy a lot.
yeah.
He puts in that grind.
No, his videos are
They're
insane. Like
insane.
the
I know.
stuff
He's so good at it. It's honestly insane to me the amount of like super like high quality and like just like I just feel like so many of his videos are just very viral quality, but he really hasn't had like a ton of like viral success, which to me blows my mind. Cause I'm like, if anybody deserves it, it's him, in my opinion. Just cause he's just like
you
I
watch
was
it and
even
I
go
was just
ahead.
gonna say content that you could watch and you could like take it like even if you didn't like the music for
I know.
whatever reason, you could still watch the videos and
Just
enjoy the
purely being
videos because it
entertained.
adds yeah, you're gonna be entertained from the
Yeah.
video. Whether
Oh,
it's
100%.
like I remember
I
that
agree.
one song where he had like the walker that he was coming in with, or like when he puts his head in the TV and like I
Yeah,
don't know,
yeah,
some
I
like
know.
crazy
I
stuff
know.
that he's done.
He's very creative with that stuff. I literally was texting him or messaging him on IG not that long ago, and I was like, "Bro, you need to be a creative director for people. And I was like, I'm not saying you should stop doing music because I don't think you should stop doing music. I think he makes good stuff. But I was just like, yeah, he's crazy with video stuff.
Yeah, even as like a side thing or something, just to support the
Yeah.
music if it
Right.
wasn't. Yeah,
Right.
same network type of thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, he does some cool stuff. So you kind of transition to a new style making music, and then eventually you have this song called Summer Night that came out. What
Yeah.
was like the start of that song like? Like, did you realize that that was catching as quick as it did, or was it kind of more over time?
A little bit of both. That song I always tell people is kind of funny too because I originally made the I made the hook kind of as a joke because I record a bunch for this my friend, his name's Blake, and
Like Young?
no, his name's
Oh,
Blake Schmitz.
oh.
Um, I was
You guys
like,
are both on
no.
that one song together, so I thought maybe.
Oh, actually, I know who you're talking about. No, we don't have a song together, but I do know who you're talking about. Must be somebody else. Um, but no, anyway, and he makes a bunch of country stuff, and I was just like, the area that I'm from, too. A lot of people, I just like live in a, like super rural area. You didn't know where I kind of live, and a lot of people when I tell them that I make music, they're like, "Oh, do you make country?" And I was like, "No, dude, no, I don't." and but anyway, so I literally made the hook for that song almost as a joke, but then I was like, "Wow, this actually is kind of catchy," and I just felt like it just like hit something right. And so I make a lot of my songs too, where um, it's a great day if I make a hook and then I finish the entire song in a day. The vast majority of the times, what I do is I'll make a hook and then sometimes I'll sit on it for like an embarrassing amount of time, 6 months sometimes. I mean, I would say the average is more like a week or two. But I usually do them in two separate things because I want to have a fresh like mind coming into doing my verses. Anyway, that one I wrote it that day. I showed a couple people, and then I think the following day I finished the rest of the song. And when I initially put it out, it did pretty well off rip. And at the time, I don't remember where exactly I was at back then, but it was, I want to say maybe like I think I was under 20,000 monthly listeners at the time.
Oh
Maybe
wow.
like I think it was like even like 10 to 15 to be honest.
Wow.
Um and then yeah, it just like started to go pretty much right away. But then even just like back then, like what I thought was great, it like has just continued to grow and grow and grow. Like I'm doing I'll probably do double the amount of streams on it this year than I did last year. Um
Jeez.
it's yeah, like month over month it's continued to grow.
Was that like the first moment when that song came out that you felt like not necessarily that you like had to prove to yourself when you came back to making music that this was like the right choice, but was there that the moment or was there a moment before that where you're like, no, this is like I'm
Yeah,
doing
that
something
definitely was like a turning point, I would say. Because even like so when I really released like I can't think it was like 5 or 6 songs in 2021 and then didn't really gain a lot of traction. And I had this thing too where I was like, I knew I was making good music, but I was like, I just there is a thing within music where it's like there's so much music being put out all the time where it's like if you can't get anybody to hear it, it doesn't matter how good it is. Like it can be the greatest song in the world, but if nobody hears it, it's falling on deaf ears essentially. And I just didn't have a great way at the time. I wasn't aware of a style promotion that was like actually worth putting money into because I was never scared to put money into something when it came to music, but I was like I only wanted to do something if it was organic or like it got to real people so that it could actually create something that was like self-sustaining. And then in when I started dropping in 2023, um I started using Instagram ads, and the first like probably 6 or 7 songs I dropped that year, they did okay with it, but it wasn't great. And then when I dropped Summer Nights, it was just like the perfect storm. I think I dropped it in June. It's a very summertime vibe song, obviously. Um, and then it's like the ad for it started crushing, and then so we put a little bit more on it than I was like doing for some of my other ones, and then just kind of like systematically just like kept it going. And as I like as it grew, then it also grew like algorithmically, and then I just started getting a lot more opportunities off of just in general the growth, I would say.
After seeing all that success with that song, was it tempting to try to make more songs like that, even though it kind of started out as like a joke song? And like obviously you wrote good stuff around it after
Yeah,
the joke, but like
right,
was it
right,
kind
right.
of tempting after you put it out to be like, maybe I'll just start making music like this?
I mean, I kind of did, to be honest with you. I mean, it was like at the time that was kind of my break into that style, if I'm being honest. I was making stuff that was like similar-ish, but then I didn't have anything that was like if you really want to break that down or that song down, it's basically like an acoustic guitar riff with trap drums. And now I've made, I don't know, 25, 30 of those songs. But it's like it's not even I think I just like didn't realize that I loved that style too until I started making it. It wasn't even necessarily that it was a little of both. Like I obviously I saw that it was working, and so this goes back to that conversation that we were talking about before. I found something that was working and I doubled down on it.
Hmm.
And I don't think like I really like making it. So it wasn't like it was like inauthentic per se. And even like I know like I do say that I made the song as a joke. It wasn't like I made it like the part of it that felt like a joke to me was like I had for the longest time being like said I wasn't gonna make country, it wasn't gonna make country, and then I made this song that was like sort of country-ish, and then it's like, oh, it actually felt good. So then it was like I started making more stuff that was in that vein. And it's not other people have made like I mean it's really not that far off from like Mike or Nick D or
Hmm.
Ollie Joseph. There's a bunch of people that make that style, right?
Hmm.
So that was like part of it too. It's like it has a place. So it
Hmm.
made sense to like cater to something that had a place. Like I'm not trying to ever bite on anybody's style. Like I do think my style is like pretty unique because like I pull a lot of I definitely some of those people are definitely my inspiration. V Will's another one. Um but like I also got a lot of like John Bellion influence and Black Bear influence, and like I'm really big on Marky Basie and like even like some like big like pop people like Quinn 92 or um some like Chelsea Cutler, Jeremy Zucker. uh yeah, so I don't know, like I don't feel like I don't personally feel like I'd like just straight bite on anybody's style, but yeah, to answer your initial question, it's like it had a place, and I saw that it had success, so I just doubled down on it.
Well, and I think it's in a way like only natural if you're listening to this brand and type of music for the majority of the time that you're listening to music, like it's obviously gonna bleed into like what
Yeah,
you're making because it's like what sounds good to you when you're listening to it.
100%.
It's probably gonna sound good when you're making something too. So it kind of makes sense that they'd go
Yeah,
hand in.
I agree.